What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS. Have you ever wondered, can you communicate directly with spirit guides, teachers, or non-physical consciousness, or even our higher selves? What would they tell us? My name is Kevin Moore, and since 2015, I started to practice a form of communication which is termed channeling. I have been interviewing experts on my talk show to find out, does life continue after we die? And can we communicate with those that have crossed over? With each expert I spoke to, they all had different ideas. Is there knowledge from the past which could be shared with the present moment? So I thought, why not just speak to the non-physical world directly through channelers around the world? And that's what I set out to do. They call us channelers will take the viewers on a journey into the phenomena known as channeling. And my main goal with this docuseries is to bring a new understanding and awareness to channeling by looking within ourselves and asking, is it truly possible that we can all use this innate ability?
Hey Kevin, it's so good to be with you. We are joining you from outside of Charleston, South Carolina, in a little town called Monk's Corner, where we operate a metaphysical space called the Tree House, as you see a tree in the background here. We see our own clients here in this space and offer trainings and classes and fun events and gatherings, but we also allow other practitioners to come and offer their classes and things that they want to offer to the community.
Well, it's great to have you both on, and yeah, we'll get into that wonderful space that's just behind you as well, just a bit more detail. Again, that's all on you. Anything we mention here, let me just say, I always say this in interviews, will be in the description below, so just go to the show more notes, because obviously we've got a physical space here as well. Gosh, where do we start with you both? Because you've both got different interesting backgrounds, right? Well, actually, Alison, while we're just with you, right? Obviously, you go on paper as Dr. Allison Brown. You're a doctor in?
I have an educational doctorate in ed leadership. I am a public school counselor and have been for over 20 years. So that's my day job.
So you've got this day job and you're doing this work as well. And now your background, it was, I'm guessing, from some of the first books that you have written, and they were sort of in one after the other in some succession, right? But there's a very Christian background there in a sense, and there still is, yeah. So how did that sort of what was the surprise to you when this was happening with William then, in the sense of your religious stance and obviously where you are now?
Well, I think by the time Will started channeling, I had already sort of reconciled the Christian upbringing, conservative Christian upbringing, with the greater spiritual realm. We sort of discontinued going to church when we moved up here to South Carolina. And that's when I discovered Reiki, and it opened up, a whole world of other opportunities. And so by the time he started channeling and speaking light language, which to me, again, was sort of like speaking in tongues in the church, a lot of it reconciled for me. And I wanted to help others to reconcile that as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, they that's right. They call it speaking tongues in the Christian churches. And is it kind of the same in a sense? Do you recognize a lot of what was coming through at the time as?
I think it ultimately is exactly the same thing. Of course, the energies that are coming through can vary greatly, and so the sound of it will be quite different depending upon who it is that's channeling that information.
So, okay, you're the sort of guide for William. You're asking, we'll get to ask the questions. And so, okay, so when probably people are watching this and thinking, so when people come for a session with yourselves, and there's many sessions different types of sessions that you do on the website, but when they come for a session, they're coming to both of you?
Right. Will likes to remain clean so that he doesn't know what the client's information or questions are, because I think it adds more legitimacy for the client. So the client contacts me and sends me their list of questions, and I might, ask them to clarify some things. And then during the session, they're present via Zoom typically, but I'll ask the questions for them because intuitively I sort of know how to ask them in the right way or to elicit the right information, what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, you both got your websites are coming up on the screen. You've both got individual websites, but they really do cross-pollinate with each other when it comes to the sessions. And yeah, but we're putting linking both on the screen as well. And obviously your books have been coming up as well, Alison. So yeah, William, where do we start with you? Right. Okay. So actually, let's go back. Let's go back here a bit. I think you've always had this gift. Even as a kid, you can look back and say, you know what? As a young person, I know it was there. It was in the background, but it was there.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember as far back as being, pre-high school, knowing that something greater was guiding me. I never set foot in a church. I didn't know what churches were. I knew what they were for, but I never understood the whole thing about going to church. But I would, there were many nights I'd lay in bed and I would pray, but I wasn't knowing who to pray to, but I knew I was praying to something greater than I was. And I had that presence about me as all through my, young years and even into high school, and had a number of experiences throughout that. I remember specifically at one point during a psychology class of having an out-of-body experience during the meditation that we had in the psychology class. So it was one of these moments where you experience something, but you don't know who to talk to because, you're not sure where the outcome's going to go.
Yeah, well, I guess you had no one to talk to in some respects. And actually, your career went in, it actually went into the services. I mean, just tell us about your career in the services and how long you was in the services for.
Yeah, I entered into the United States Coast Guard around 1987, and I retired around 2012. So about 27 years total, and had a wonderful career. But even through that, there were moments that I just had a knowing. I had certain knowings about stuff. I am classically trained as a diesel mechanic. That's kind of my career in the military. But there were many, many moments where I had, to work on something and nobody else really had a clue of what was taking place. I could go in and sit with it and put all my senses into it and receive a knowing back of what needed to take place. So it was that just always kind of preceded my, my existence all the way through.
I see. So there was the intuitive side, and even in that career with, which was, an engineer's career in a sense, I suppose.
Exactly.
That there was always that intuition, just knowing how this is, or what the issue is, maybe.
Exactly.
Being able to sit down and or maybe give yourself time away from what the issue is and be able to reflect. But actually, you're not reflecting like most engineers would with, scratching their head with a manual. You're just being guided in a sense.
Yeah.
Into where was there many times it was like that in a sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So it would actually take place over a night. So I would sleep on it, and now I understand it much more clearly, but I would receive almost what you could say a schematic throughout my night, throughout my dreams. And I would know exactly based on that schematic what to go fix. And, if we jump forward in time to the point at which the channeling started kicking in, I realized where that information was coming from. That was coming from, all things an extraterrestrial connection I have. And that was his or my existence with that, of him downloading that information into me so I could do that. And that continues on today. That still continues.
Was that connection there in other aspects of your life as well? I mean, you mentioned obviously the work side, but what about other parts of your life? Was it there? Do you think?
Absolutely. So, I mean, we'll hate to jump forward and back, but we'll jump back again. As a child, I had I wouldn't say an unrealistic fear, but I did have a fear of extraterrestrials. Didn't understand why I had this fear, but I always had this fear, and had this reoccurring dream that took place all the way up into my mid-20s. And then again, jump forward into my channeling when that started taking place, and that was revealed to me. That's because I was remembering the point at which my extraterrestrial seeding took place upon this planet. Again, this is all very, very strange at some point, but it all makes sense for me now. I mean, I've fully accepted it, and I understand that side of me. But yes, even, through our relationships, through other contacts with other people, through other jobs that I've had in the civilian sector, I've used my intuition and that knowing that I receive in those situations for a better outcome. Interesting.
So, Alison, when you reflect on what William's saying there, can you feel there were times when, you wouldn't have been able to put your finger down to that it was happening as he's explaining there, but I mean, there was something more to, just certain things that would happen sometimes?
I had no idea. No. I mean, I didn't put it in that context at all. He told me, we met on a blind date, and he told me that I was the one and that we were going to get married. And I'm like, really? Because I'm not feeling like that right now.
Well, I mean, to the extent that within the first month of relationship, you have those conversations of, well, where do you see yourself in 10 years if this relationship is still right? And several things. I said, well, first off, I see you writing books, and I see myself sitting at home signing those books and sticking them in the mail and shipping them out.
He's the one.
What's that?
I say he's the one.
Yeah. And I said, I see us working together. There's in some framework, I see us working together. And she said, absolutely not. You're too much of a perfectionist. I could never work for you or work with you, that kind of thing. So,
yep. So that was really the probably the most prominent piece of intuition that I picked up on. But other than that, no, it was a normal life. We were raising children, and he was in the Coast Guard. I was an educator, and we didn't even entertain that kind of thing up until the healing work that we started in the church.
I guess it's all about timing, isn't it? I mean, you couldn't have done this sort of work with the kids probably. Well, I'm saying you couldn't have done. You tell me. I mean,
I think it would have been possible, but it would have been maybe a bit difficult, because we were just talking about that last night. If what would our lives look like if we were on that awakening path before our children came into the scene? How much different would our lives actually be? So it's interesting to reflect back, but I mean, we've got amazing kids, and they've got their own path that they're on, and they love it. So.
Yeah. I guess if it was meant to be, it would have happened. I guess that's what I'm saying in a sense. But interesting. And how have kids and your colleagues as well and friends taken the work that you're doing now? I mean, has it been a bit of a mixed reaction in a sense?
Well, it's interesting because I call it my coming out, because when you are in the Christian church, and that's what I write about in the book, in The Journey Within, but it's kind of frowned upon in many churches, not all, mediumship and psychic ability and channeling and all of that, unless it's the priest channeling or something like that. It's kind of frowned upon. And so when we came out with all of this on Facebook, for example, or I did a radio show with Deborah Moffat and came out about all of this, I was sort of expecting some of my Christian friends to drop me off of Facebook or whatever. And it didn't happen. And it's been surprisingly nice to realize that if it's not their cup of tea, I guess they're just, live and let live. But we really haven't had any backlash or looks or anything weird at all, which has been, a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. And let me just mention, you've got 3 books, The Ancestors Within, The Journey Within, and Love Notes from the Animal Kingdom.
Right. And The Ancestors Within, I have a chapter. That's not my book. The other 2 are my books.
Oh, okay. So you in one chapter in that. Okay. Again, all part of your sort of transitioning, all part of the journaling of that process as well, which is really interesting. And there'll be many others, that you inspire for them who are doing exactly the same thing, or on the verge of doing it, or have been doing it for a while. Yet, it's a difficult. It's not an easy thing to do this work. It's easy. If you just want to be a healer, right, that's kind of easy-ish, right? But to take the psychic aspect on as a healer and to give the readings, I don't know. It makes you look odd, doesn't it, in some respects? And I think there's getting past that. That's a big part of, it's not very glamorous, is it, in some respects?
Yeah, I mean, from doing the psychic work, the mediumship work, and then getting into the channeling work, like Allison, my circle of friends, if they've dropped off my radar, they've dropped off my radar, but without any ill intent. I haven't seen any ill words, and that's fine. That's life. Things move about. But as far as the oddity of it, of course, it's to be a healer, to put hands on people, okay, that's a little bit more accepted. It's kind of like doing yoga and those things. But when you get into the upper level realms of doing stuff, that the pathway gets really narrow. And, but there comes a time, even for myself, that you go through a phase of, is this right for me? Should I be doing this? I don't trust myself, blah, 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 blah. But then there's a point at which the light switch clicks on and you just realize this is you. You can't deny this any further. You see the outcomes. You see the joy on people's faces. You see them reacting in a way that, that's what they came for. And you just realize this is you, and you can't deny it any further.
Absolutely. And that's the reward, isn't it, in the end?
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about, really, isn't it? It's helping people from that perspective. But but I only say the words I said previously, just to, because some people watching this maybe think, sounds kind of glamorous in a sense. Do you know what I mean? But it's far from that. But actually, it is the part that really matters, I feel. Yeah.
Yes.
And you actually combine both of it. So you've got the when people come to you for a reading, I'm all over the place here, but you've got the psychic mediumistic ability, the mediumship ability. How do you sort of flow from one to the other state? Or is it, depending who comes through for that person, that mediumistic side will be present there? I'm just wondering, that's all, because it's very, Yeah,
so you kind of almost look at it as 3 segments. You've got the psychic segment, you've got the mediumship segment, and you've got the trance segment, the trance channel segment. The trance channel segment is completely segregated from the other 2. The other 2, really, you have to understand the methodology behind what you're connecting to. If I'm sitting across from you, Gavin, I'm going to be reading your energy directly, and that's going to be the psychic aspect of it. But if I'm reaching out laterally over here and realizing that there's spirit always around us, and I allow my energy to flow and vibrate into that space, and I connect with a loved one of yours, I'm just going to allow them to blend with me, and I'm going to bring forth that information. And for me, it's a very interesting, it's on the verge of seeing and knowing. So it happens very rapidly, as if someone's playing a movie screen in front of me extremely rapidly, and I have to pick pieces off, and that's the information I give to you. And as the connection grows stronger, the information becomes clearer.
Thank you so much for that. So yeah, Alison, obviously when William's doing this work, he's not really remembering, even during a client session, exactly what's been said sometimes, depending how deep he is. And most times he's sort of out of the way. Do you find the more out of the way he is, the clearer the readings are, the better the sessions are?
Absolutely. With the psychic mediumship work that he does, which is a little part of everything, He's obviously conscious, but during the trance channeling, which is his primary role, really, he's completely out. And when he comes back, he doesn't remember anything at all, which again, I think lends credibility for the client. And so a lot of times we're crying or we're laughing or we're talking about the session. I'm talking about it with the client, and he's like, "Can you fill me in? Because I don't know what's going on."
Yeah.
So,
and in that, the psychic and mediumship work is solely just my work. Allison doesn't need to be there for that. So,
right. But they're so entwined nowadays that it's just, okay. And Alice probably is there for a lot of it. Alison, when you see people's transformation taking place in the sessions, what's that like to witness?
It's really the reason we do this work. It's unbelievable. My day job is my day job, and it helps pay the bills, and I love the kids that I work with. But this nourishes my soul, and, we would do it every single day. I would talk to these beings, these higher level beings, angels, ETs, whatever wants to come forth for the client every day if I could. To be bathed in that energy is just unbelievable. And then to watch the healing take place on the part of the client, especially, for instance, if we're talking to their pets, and for them to be able to talk to a pet that has a behavioral challenge, or they're getting ready to put them down or contemplating that difficult decision or something like that. And to be able for them to hear the voice of their animal, it gives them such comfort and relief that it's giving me goosebumps to talk about it right now.
That's right. There's the pet channeling as well, which is something that you guys specialize in. Well, that's what you've had a lot of clients come to you for as well. You've done a whole book on it as well. Just briefly, just talk about some of the sessions you've had that stand out to you when it comes to the pet sessions as well. And I should just mention as well that you call this session the pet channeling session, which is available on your website. Actually, you've got. Well, I will go over some of the sessions in just a moment. Let's just mention the pet. Let's just talk about the pet channeling first. Now we're talking about it.
So there's a couple of really fun ones. One was Sasha, who was a military working dog, a bomb sniffing dog.
Oh, wow.
And when she finally got adopted by her human companion, and they live up, I think, in New Jersey, all of a sudden Sasha didn't want to go up the stairs. I think he had a townhome that was 2 stories. And Sasha didn't want to go upstairs, and she was scared to death, and we couldn't figure out what it was. And even then, I was thinking perhaps it was a past life issue. Well, come to find out, when we talked to Sasha, we put it together, because Sasha didn't even know at the beginning either. But when Sasha would go and find the bomb, then the handler would call Sasha back to the truck, and there was a ramp going up and then a kennel inside the truck. So Sasha would run up the ramp, get in the kennel, and then they would detonate the bomb. Sometimes Sasha was only on the ramp when the bomb was detonated. So she learned to pair the bomb sound with her going up the ramp. So she wasn't securely in her kennel yet. So here she is back home now with her forever family, and she's afraid to go up the stairs because she's afraid there's going to be a bomb that went off. So once we made that connection, she's been fine. The other one we had was a little dog that was having seizures, and would just flop over and then get back up and didn't know what was going on, and it was scaring the mom. And so what we found out was that one was a past life issue, where this little dog, Max, I believe was his name, had been a bear and a dog and some other animal in a past life. And in all 3 of those lives, the animal had been shot. And the next thing he knew, he saw a bright light, a loud boom, and boom, he was down and then back into the next body. And so now when the dog in this life was seeing a bright light, boom, he'd go down.
Like lightning or fireworks, yeah.
Yeah. So last I heard, the dog was no longer having seizures once we talked to the dog, Max, and figured out what was going on. So those are so much fun, really.
Now, I'm sure I know there's a whole variety of different, readings when it comes to the animals and the pets. I mean, it's just everything, isn't it? And you go into a whole lot of detail in the book as well, which the book is coming up on the screen right now. And, we're going on from, the bees to the dolphins to elephants to, squirrels. And then obviously behavioral problems, as you sort of the energy and the healing between the pets and the owners and everything else, because there is obviously there. If the pet's deceased as well, they can also come in for a reading with a... Yeah. Okay. Sure. Okay. So that's again called Pet Channeling Sessions. Now we've got a number of sessions on the website. We've got Now, beyond quantum healing, is the client taken down for a regression in that session, or is that William going down for the session in a sense?
And that's the work that I do by myself. I call it spiritual hypnosis. And I know you're familiar with Dolores Cannon and QHHT. Candace Kroll-Goldman created Beyond Quantum Healing after Dolores passed. She was one of Dolores's proteges, and created this modality that sort of expands. It's an evolution of what Dolores created. And so I use that with clients only in person, though it can be done over Zoom, but I prefer to do it in person. So for local clients, and it's about a 3-hour session where we do past life regression. But as you know, Kevin, it's so much more than just past lives anymore. So even though most people that watch the video may understand it as PLR or past life regression, and a lot of times we do peek into some past lives, but we're looking at future lives. We're just looking at calling in your wisdom team of your guides and talking to them and answering questions and things like that. So it's so much more rich than just PLR at this point.
Yes, it is. And then you've got the group regression sessions. You do those as well?
And we do those up here in the treehouse. Occasionally I might offer one on Zoom, but those are for people to dip their toe in the water of PLR or to meet a guide or something like that if they're not familiar with it. And it's, a little bit of a safe kind of environment.
Now, just to find the events that are going on locally at the, I think it's a non-profit that you've got. Yep. Just tell us, what is it that how you've set this up, and how people can find about events that are going on locally if they're willing to travel to you as well?
Well, we have a calendar, treehouse-events.com. That's where they can find most of the events. If they wanted to get on our mailing list, they can send us a contact form, and that's through our website, palmandlotus.com, where you'll also see a description of all of our events. And our nonprofit, Reiki for Vets, I'll let you talk a little bit about that.
Reiki for Vets was a divinely inspired nonprofit. Back around 2015-16, I had already been administered into the VA for some lower back stuff. I'm a VA or disabled veteran. So Allison started working on me with the Reiki she was newly certified in, and I could start to feel energy. I could start to feel something changing. And so with the combination of Allison continuing to work on me, myself getting trained in Reiki, and my primary care physicians, I was able to wean myself off of a lot of my pain meds that I was on for over 4 or 5 years. And through that as the pain meds waned out of my system, my energetic system fired on.
That must have been so difficult to get off those pain medications, man.
It took time. Because but once you realize how the energy itself of your own body repairing itself when you're in that relaxed state, then that's the purpose of Reiki. That's when I started receiving energetic downloads, meaning I could, during a conversation similar to this, I would just get fired up with the knowing of something, knowing of what's the truth of something. And in that's where Reiki for Vets was born and inspired from. And I said, we need to take Reiki into the local VA here, into the local VA hospital here in Charleston. We reached out to the veteran or the volunteer coordinator there at the hospital, and I expected to kind of fall on dead ears and maybe never be heard of. And I received an email within 24 hours saying, absolutely, this program, you make it what you want. We've been looking for Reiki in the VA here to be a volunteer program for 3 years, and here you are. So we're going to let you run with this. So from about 2016 until COVID, we had over 20 volunteers throughout, from Myrtle Beach all the way down to Savannah, South Carolina. Georgia, sorry. Hello. Geographically, I'm a little off. But so we filled all of the VA locations that Charleston services with volunteers, and they provided Reiki sessions for veterans.
It just goes to show how powerful that is. And well, let's actually, and you've got volunteers, as you say, that are working with you now, and this is only going to grow. I can just see that. But let's just attach this to your journey as well. What Reiki did. So you're on this journey. You're using Reiki, and then how did you get to sort of your sort of first channeling? Then what was that missing? Because I'm missing a key here somewhere, aren't I?
Yeah. So it was interesting because once I was trained in Reiki level 1, level 2. We brought our volunteers on, and then we did some holistic fairs. And also, as I was working in the VA, every time I would touch a client or touch a veteran, I would see things. I would know things about them. I would know where their pain was located. I would know where their surgery just took place. I would know these things. And that's where you say the key, that's where that all began. And, and so, my Reiki isn't the typical, in the box Reiki. It has evolved from, I know the protocol and I know the foundational layers of it, but it's also expanded into my own modality, where now when I do touch a client, not all clients, but the majority of them, I'll tune into where the energy needs to flow more appropriately. And from there, it grew into the psychic, into the mediumship, then into the channeling was really that was just by chance.
So what was that chance, though? What was that sort of chance? What happened?
So the spring of 2018, I'm on Facebook, perusing Facebook, and a friend of ours posted something. Hey, I just got certified in Dolores Cannon's QHHT. I need to do 25 free sessions. Sign up. I didn't know what QHHT was. I just saw the letters. I like doing stuff. I like experimenting. I signed up, told Allison about it. She's like, you better have not got the last spot. I want one. But anyway, the practitioner came over. I had my list of questions. She induced me into a trance, or induced me into a hypnotic state. I don't want to say trance just yet. And throughout the process, I eventually slid down into that trance state. And one of my questions was, going back to what we originally were talking about, this knowing. Who is it that I am connected to? Who was that presence I was connected to? And even as I speak, I'm getting energized by this. And it took a little bit of coaxing, because I was only her second client. So she wasn't familiar with the nuances of really, fleshing this out. And so she asked, well, can we speak to who's been guiding William? And I can't get to that octave, but it was this very low, very droning kind of no came out. And so she was like, okay. So she kept working. And eventually she was able to flesh it out. And this name, Enoch, comes out. And so that was one of my primary guides. And that's who's been guiding me throughout this time. So the biblical figure of Enoch has been present with me my entire life. And so that's my connection point. And so from that, the collective has been kind of put together, which is Enoch, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Michael, and Source. And that all came about through that one session, because that led into her coming back week after week, because she wanted to learn more about somebody that gets into a somnambulist state like I do. And so she would come in with a list of questions for herself. Allison would have questions, and there was just session after session. And it was a really beautiful thing.
Wow. Yeah. I can imagine that being a bit of a life changer.
Yeah.
In a lot of respects for you both. Yeah. And obviously, Alison, for yourself, then, was it just like, you tested this connection for William, that you were sort of like a gatekeeper of discernment in a sense, and most times, or at the beginning parts?
Well, the practitioner let me sit in on about the third and fourth sessions that she came over. And she suggested that I get trained in this new modality that was just coming out in the summer of 2018, which was the BQH. And I was thinking to myself, well, gosh, I don't know if that's something I want to do. But so my guides, long story short, gave me a discount for the class, and I took the class in July. And of course, the first person that I put under was this one, because I knew that he could go under. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, we've been married about 30 years. Maybe he's too used to my voice, or he won't get under because he feels weird because it's me. But sure enough, I went through the induction with him. He was lying on the table and did the induction. And all of a sudden, his team came through. At that point, we knew it was the collective. They came through, and I had them for 2 hours to talk to as I wished. It was unbelievable. I said, holy shit, this really works. So I asked questions, and I said, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I just got trained. You're going to have to help me. His guide said, absolutely. This is what you're meant to do. And I thought I was meant to do it for him, to help him get into that state. And they said, no. This is for your healing work to help others as well. And so they trained me. Every time I had a client, it was exactly what I needed at that moment. They helped dispel the fear and all of that. And at that point, he started learning how to induce himself. They had him sit in a chair, and he would take some deep breaths, which is what he does now. So he doesn't have to be induced anymore. Of course, my role there is not important anymore. But as the facilitator, when someone's in as you know, Kevin, because you've interviewed so many, but when someone's in a trance state, you really need somebody that you trust to monitor the session. And so that's my role. And we just know that we came in to do this work together. So we're a partnership in every sense of the word.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't meet, and I say this in other interviews as well, that many sort of deep trance state channelers. But it's interesting when you do meet them, because it's a funny process, isn't it, William, when you're sort of, in that car and you're driving it, then all of a sudden you're put into the back seat and you just flow and you just allow.
Yes.
Where do you find yourself going in that space?
So initially, when I was being induced, and people would ask this after because I would be doing this while on a massage table and, in front of people, and I'd sit up and they'd start asking questions. And I always tell them it was like, there's two of me and there's a pane of glass between us. There's me, and then there's the person that's channeling. And I could look through that pane of glass at the person channeling. I could see their lips moving. I could see everything, but I can't hear anything. So I'm kind of in a disassociated space. And then, like I said, I don't hear anything, so I don't remember anything that's coming out the other side. But the point at which they basically move me to a chair and train me how to do the breath work and enter into that trance. Now it's just, I surrender myself to that process and I enter into this beautiful, just blank slate place. The only thing that I am, I'll say, a bit aware of is the energy flow through my body. That I can usually remember when I come out the other side, because it does amp up or it wanes, it shifts, it moves. So that's really that's where I really like to stay, is in that space.
And do you feel the difference between the different, various kind of, obviously you've got Enki, you've got the Zeta, you've got Source. Can you feel the difference between these vibrations?
Yes. Early on, it was definitely very prominent. So I always likened it to when early on, my team, the collective, would take their respective seats right off my shoulders here. And I kind of feel them settle in, and I knew they were all there. And then that was my cue to go out, their cue to come in. Now it's a bit more subtle, but I still feel them. I'll say their key energy is still flowing through me. And I feel when the energy shifts, dependent upon the question, I feel one or the other coming in. And even to the point when I'm working with a client, someone's higher self, each person's higher self has a different frequency. So it's a very interesting entrance into that. And once I'm locked into it through that breath work, that again shifts and flows, because there's others that are coming in to bring information in. The ones that are, to me, energetically, just the ones I love to be in is the pets, because it is such a pure state of energy that they exist in. And it's such a heartfelt space that it's nothing but pure love that they really exist in.
There's some of the most popular videos on the internet. They always will be, won't they? For that reason, absolutely. And with trying to keep this grounded as well, or at least not grounded, but protection, and because everyone comes to you with different issues, and I suppose some people come with you in a very low state. Do you know what I mean? How do you sort of not take on their issues, or you don't? How do you cleanse in a sense?
That's interesting, because we've had a very wide range of clientele that have come through. I know that I've felt early on when I connect to my team, or because I invoke them, even though I'm going to sit with a client, I'm going to work with their higher self. I invoke my team first, because I want them to be present with me, to guide and assist that process. And I've always felt, when I've always connected with them, I've always felt kind of the strongest of the strong, where there wasn't the need for, ritualistic protection per se, but just the knowing that they are in my space, they are holding my space. And so if their light is surrounding me, and if their presence is surrounding me, then I have no fear to enter into that client or that client's higher self. Then once I'm into the client's higher self, because it's the higher vibrational field that they're going to carry, then it's much easier to work on what they may be experiencing in those lower aspects that they're experiencing. We've had a wide range of clients, and we've even had clients that have presented with, we'll say attachments, or the sense that there is that. And Allison has done a marvelous job of sensing that. And I can't speak fully on that because I'm immersed in that trance-like state. So Allison handles that by bringing in another set of team members, right, to work with that and move that along. So
no, that's great, because yeah, I mean, let's face it, I do feel that's a reality, right? That some people knowingly open themselves to things that they shouldn't do, right? And then wonder why it's all going wrong sometimes.
Right.
Not everyone, but there are people like that, right? And don't take any self-responsibility for it, and they need help. But then sometimes there's all sorts of other reasons why such things are going on as well. So no, that's I'm sure you do help Alison with that protection as well, and sense it when it's there. What do you find, Alison, is the sort of common themes when it comes to the issues that people are discussing as well with William? What's a sort of thing, the common side kind of? Because I just feel like it's very grounded with him a lot. That it's not really, yes, people can ask about their, this and that, and be really out there. But I feel that there's a lot more actually of people coming to William that are after the here and now questions.
Yes, I think we early on discovered that one of our missions is kind of to help new seekers. So a lot of the people that come to us have no idea about ETs or spirit guides or any of that sort of stuff. And so a lot of their questions are like what I would see as I'm a counselor. And so they ask about relationships and, career decisions and ancestral trauma and this life trauma and all sorts of things like that. Interestingly, it sort of comes in waves. So right around the time that I participated in that ancestor book, all of a sudden I had a lot of clients who were coming and being told by their higher selves that they were there to clear that generational trauma throughout their ancestral line, and that they came because they were the strongest of the strong, and they came to clear it. So when they clear it from their life, it clears it all the way back and all the way into the future. And so those were real powerful sessions to know. And so those clients, when they understood their trauma, that it was serving all of their ancestors on the front end and the back end, it put it in a different perspective, and it makes it a little bit more palatable. And so once you can heal it and then start to forgive, you're blessing the entire ancestral line.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. Absolutely. And I see some of the sort of messages that have come through for yourselves is a lot about really, living in truth, living in integrity with what you should be doing, in a sense, your soul's truth, in a sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And I find that the more that we do that, the more that we live in our truth, it gives others permission to do the same. So you talked a little bit earlier about, are we nervous? Were we afraid? That sort of thing. Well, you have to step into your truth anyway. You have to operate in spite of the fear. The fear, it takes some time for it to go away, and sometimes it doesn't go away fully in anything that you're doing. But if you can operate in spite of it and ask the fear to take the back seat, it's so rewarding. And when others see you doing that and operating in your truth, then they feel comfortable to do the same. And so that's the ripple effect that's so important.
Yes, and having the I suppose the guts as well to come from that space, to be truthful to yourself. And do you feel, William, that as you've gone on with the work, that your connection gets deeper, it gets stronger, in a sense?
Oh, absolutely. People have asked me over and over again, don't you listen to your channels? Don't you, because I do provide a monthly free channeling through our website and, and all that. And no, I don't. I don't go back and listen to my channels. And I at first I kind of laughed about it, but then I gave it some thought, and I'm like, it's going through me. That energy and that message is being energetically cooked into me. So what I find over time is that the messaging, whatever that was for that month, or even the personal channels that we do together, I'm living that. I'm living that in my everyday life. The truth, the foundational layer of understanding myself, my true self, and those that understanding that there is a greater, universe guiding things, and surrendering to that, allowing my life to take whatever trajectory it's going to take, and everything is still going to be just fine. And so I think that's my biggest takeaway from doing all this work is I don't need to listen to what I've just channeled for somebody, or for myself, or for Allison, or for the collective, good, because it's already going through me, and it's already sinking in. It's already
in terms of your evolution, though, I would have to say that I think the evolution really was in the trusting.
Yes.
It's difficult to trust your team, that they have your back, and when you go out, you don't know what's happening, and you don't know what the audience is experiencing, and you don't know what you're saying, and you come back and you're kind of like, was it okay? Was everything okay? So learning to trust himself and trust his guides was critical, and I could just see it's come in stages to the point where I think pretty much it's about 100% probably at this point.
Oh yeah, I go into a channel, or even in a circumstance like this, I have no question. You want a channel? Sure. Okay. Yeah. If that's what's meant to be, then that's what it'll be. So yeah, before I'd be a little apprehensive because I don't know how it's going to be received, but now it's like, I can't control that. You are you and I'm me. And if it's meant to be, then we're all together on it.
Well, I think it's great that you've got each other there. I mean, that helps
yes,
so much, right? And that's all meant to be, right? It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to where you're going to take this, because you've already come so far with it. Do you ever consider, where is this going? Where do I see myself maybe in a couple of years?
I think we really just want to get in front of larger audiences, because we can affect more change and help more people in that way. One-on-one clients are rewarding and beautiful, and we love it. But we have this urge to speak to others and just help them on their awakening, and get in front of groups and things like that, and travel doing so.
Yeah.
But we really let the universe orchestrate that for us, and our guides. We know that everything is in divine and perfect timing. It's been shown to us again and again. And so we sort of just let that unfold. So we have an intention, that's our intention, but we wait and see what the universe holds for us, really.
Yeah, we've always adopted the motto of not pushing into things. Because when we find that we push into something, that's our own energy, and typically we'll screw that up. So we don't push into it. We just really allow it, and the universe really continues to. I mean, I know it almost sounds cliche. Oh, the universe is going to provide. The universe has been providing. 2020, I stepped away from a corporate, well-paid technology startup company, because I didn't feel like I resonated with that company any longer to fully go into this work. And the universe has brought clients upon clients and kept it steady and keeps providing. And I can't say more. I mean, it's just wonderful.
Yeah, that is great. And of course, the heat. Well, it's all healing work, isn't it? But even the Reiki work, everything you're doing, it's when you've just you've just opened the door, haven't you? You've just allowed, and but that is the part that some people get stuck at. Right?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can understand that. Yeah.
And what we've noticed is that when you're so excited to do this work, and it's so rewarding and so much fun, and we're helpers at heart, right? And so everybody wants to just quit their job and do this full time. Everybody does, of course. Why wouldn't you? But I think there's something to be said about holding the light in these other areas, like in education, or if you you're a political figure, or you have a government job, or whatever you're doing. It's so important for us to also witness to the people that are there as well. We can't all just quit and isolate and start doing metaphysical work, because we're needed in these other areas.
It's even where you're based as well. Do you know what I mean? You're holding the light where you're at right now. You could look at it like that as well. So yeah, you are where you're meant to be, and it's great. Okay, well, let's do some channeling, right? Let's at least just demonstrate how that would work. And I mean, if you want to talk, through the process, I mean, there's a lot more I could have asked you, but I think really let's speak. Now, I don't know what's going to happen here, who's coming through, what you feel the energy is going to be, but you can describe the process for us and
Sure.
how it would work. Yeah.
I mean, for this particular, segment, I've been focusing on the collective, bringing in the collective for just whatever they're going to have to say. So really, the process is just I'm going to sit here for a moment. I'm going to take my glasses off, and then I'll walk everybody through a little bit of breathing. And then I'll go into my breathing, and from that point, the collective will settle in. And whether Allison has questions or Kevin, if you have some questions, that's fine. They usually open up with a message, and then after the message, they'll let you know when it's time to ask questions.
It's all on you, Kev, not me. You get to ask everything. Normally, I would turn and look at him, and I'd be asking the questions, but I'm just going to face forward and let you do all the talking.
No, honestly, Alison, if there's any questions you would like to ask, please ask. That's
I get to ask all the time. I have nothing left to ask.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, trust me, she has lists of questions. All right. So what I'm going to ask, as I always do for all my channelings, I'm just going to ask that you just get as comfortable as you can wherever you are. And I'm just going to ask you to take a couple deep cleansing breaths. So it's going to be a nice long inhale through the nose and a nice long exhale through the mouth. So just do that a couple of times. It allows all of our energies to get connected together, and it also allows it to settle just a bit. And as you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and begin. Welcome. The collective is here for your information, knowledge, and love. What we ask of you is to sit and listen. Listen to the vibration, listen to the frequency. That is where it all exists. Allow your body to listen to the frequency. Allow your energy to connect to the vibration. The world that exists around you, this wonderful world that exists around you, is here for you. It is here for you and your growth. For Mother Earth herself, her consciousness, her being, is here for you. Many of you understand what it is to ground upon Mother Earth. Many of you understand how to shed your energy into Mother Earth. But do you take time to have a conversation with Mother Earth? Do you sit upon Mother Earth and ask her to provide you what you should know? For it is this healing, it is this understanding from Mother Earth that provides you the greatest source of energy, of healing, of knowing. Mother Earth holds all knowing. Mother Earth is there for your blessings. Mother Earth is there for your sorrows. Mother Earth is there for your joy. Mother Earth is there to cradle you. Not just to cradle you when you are depleted, when you are sad, when you are emotionally drained, but to cradle you just to be. For the humans themselves, energetic as they are, they wish to walk upon Mother Earth, they wish to be upon Mother Earth, but they have forgotten their connection to Mother Earth. For they have placed themselves here, around the planet, taking what they wish and doing what they wish with it, understanding that Mother Earth is always there. But what we would like you to understand is this. Many believe that the humans are going to devastate the planet. That is not the case. Mother Earth, the consciousness of Mother Earth, will always rejuvenate, will always heal, and will always be present. For Mother Earth will always cleanse herself to start again. So it is not to understand this as a warning, but it is to understand this, that there needs to be a divine connection between the humans and Mother Earth. There needs to be this divine balance of energies. For the humans themselves, as chaos ensues, are forgetting about Mother Earth. She's always present. She's always whole. But it is time. It is time to shift the consciousness of each of the beings. It is this time now to shift the consciousness of the beings upon the planet, to understand why Mother Earth is here. So allowing yourself this moment, this time, to refocus one's point of perspective, one's point of placement, one point of understanding upon why you as a human are here. You are here to assist Mother Earth. Assist it in any means possible. It is for you. This planet is for you. She is always there, always present. Step upon her with your bare feet. Lay bare upon her. Allow her to comfort you. If you have questions, please begin.
Thank you very much for that, indeed. That wasn't a message I thought was going to come through. But then again, you know, I get a lot of messages recently on the sort of the feminine and the masculine, which is the sort of co-creative side, of course. And I guess that's what kind of maybe entering into this time that we are in right now is part of that energy from Mother Earth as well, maybe.
You must understand this presence of Mother Earth is the vibrational forces of Mother Earth have been rising, have been increasing. Many of you have been witnessing the vibrational forces of Mother Earth churning, going quiet for periods of time, but yet coming back amplified. This is a process in which the planet that you inhabit is beginning to shift frequency ranges. A broader spectrum of understanding is being broadcast, being able to be received by more of the humans upon the planet. Not only those that are awakened, but those that are still fully in their three-dimensional aspect. This broader frequency is allowing those individuals to become aware.
Right. So in a sense that, it's about our healing as well. Our healing is kind of like Mother Nature's healing, and vice versa in a sense. They're codependent on each other. Yeah, okay. And it's an important... look at what some parts of the world look like we're doing to it. Yeah, and as you've said in the message, she's restarted before, and, she can again.
You have to understand the process of the planet. The process of this planet is just that. It will recycle throughout time. It must. It will reset itself in time. The humans themselves will always populate different versions of the humans through dimensional levels. You are in the cycle. There is not a time of reset on your future, but it is to be aware of it.
Yeah. Look, it all comes down to healing and love and the power of love, right, in a sense, yeah. And how much of this love are we giving to ourselves in some respects by, and I know we've kind of mentioned this before we started channeling, but, speaking your truth, living your truth, being comfortable with just who you are as well, when it comes to being you, and how important this is, and what a massive ripple effect this has to living in purpose, or being of purpose, in purpose.
When each individual being, when each individual human begins to build their foundation of understanding, their foundation of awareness, truth will always come forward. This truth, this divine truth that each being holds within them is always present, but it is masked, it is shielded. But as this foundational layer of understanding, the foundational layer of understanding of their energetic presence here upon this planet, whether it is through their religious beliefs, whether it is through their spiritual beliefs, as that foundational layer grows, fear begins to slide away and truth begins to be present in front, always emanating truth through words, through presence, through their being.
And what happens, well, I was going to say what happens when we go off course, off path, but actually I don't believe there are any mistakes. I tend to think that, we live in a perfect universe in a sense, and when something seems from a distance to be so wrong, actually that's what the experience that those people in that experience of what I class as wrong are having as such a right experience in a sense. And that's their experience. It doesn't have to be any of ours, but to judge it is kind of what I'm saying is perhaps not what we shouldn't be doing, but actually if we can see it from a different perspective, which you're going to explain, then it makes so much more sense.
It is to understand one's path, one's journey, one's life path. For each human, each existence has created their life, has agreed upon their life presence. They've agreed upon each intersection with each individual, each circumstance, each moment of their life. So there isn't, as you say, one wrong path, one wrong move, and it is to go into one wrong direction. It is not at all, for that has all been scripted, that is all purposeful for those individuals. It is that brings them back around. Yes, you are allowed to move off your path. You are allowed to take diversions. You are allowed to experience those things that you believe are detrimental to your existence. But in reality, you have scripted that moment. You have put those people into place. You've put those things into place for you to diverge from your path, to take on that existence, to learn from it. For each point outside of the middle of the path is a learning experience. The further the way you go, the stronger the learning experience. Some may take an extreme amount of time to learn what is to be learned, but eventually that path is intersected again. This is all purposeful. This is all part of individual process.
Yeah, and when you say, it may take some time, or I'm personifying your words here, you're not just talking about in this lifetime, you're talking about lifetimes upon lifetimes. Yeah.
This is correct. One may diverge from this existence path to explore and understand, and it takes them off trajectory. It may end up cascading into future existences.
When the soul is going off path, in a sense of what we perceive as off path, it's always brought back on path, though, isn't it? In some way, it's never really off path, is it? If it could be looked at from being brought back into
off path is a mere perspective from the human's placement. From the energetic understanding, it is exactly where it needs to be for that moment. The human's perspective, the human's vision of that off-path experience may be very chaotic, may be very upsetting, damaging to a point, but energetically, they know, they understand the path in which they will be guided back. There will be one particular point at which there'll be an awareness that settles in. It is time then to merge back onto the existent path, the one that you have chosen, down through the middle. And again, you may diverge, but there's always the middle. You will always come back to the middle.
If the law of attraction was, in a sense, and I'm just using words here, we've got channel 2, I want to get into channel 3. How easy is it to change your perspective to a different channel, and that's more in alignment with what you really want? And can it be pretty quick, in a sense? What may seem to be like big steps can actually happen pretty easy. What makes it easy, I suppose? Is it you that's going to choose it, or is there free will there? Is there not free will? Is it a mixture of so many things?
It is all dependent upon what has been agreed upon for those moments. If at a point at which the path has been deviated from, and you are experiencing the chaos of that existence, and yet at that point you have agreed upon, there'll be an individual, there'll be an episode, there will be a circumstance that brings awareness, then it'll go back from channel 1 to channel 2, back to channel 1. It will always go back, but it will be only if it has been previously agreed upon. There are circumstances, and this is the understanding. There are circumstances that other individuals are there to bump you back into the original channel. It is purposeful. They are agreed upon with you to bump that existence back into the primary channel, the primary line, the primary point of existence, the primary timeline. That is an agreement that you've had with that individual, not an intersection. That is what is spoken about as individuals, places, circumstances, redirecting.
And that redirection could be maybe a falling out with someone. It may not be, such a pleasant thing on the outside, but the ramifications.
There's a wide array of experiences.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be the most joyous, and it doesn't have to be the most sorrow-filled. It is everything in between the spectrum of all existence, all emotion. There is not one specific category, one specific point that is synchronized between humans. It is each individual. You speak of free will and the amount of free will that you have. That is why you have incarnated into this human existence, to experience this aspect of free will. You have a path, you have a timeline, you have an existence, but yet you have free will to navigate about it as you wish. Free will is the only place you will experience this, is in the human being. When you are in existence outside of the human being, outside of this existence here upon this planet, free will does not exist. Free will is unique to the human aspect.
How important is it, or can it be useful to actually connect with our higher self in a sense, and actually with that connection that we've all got, right, that it would help us to just guide us on this journey a little bit easier, or it's like you always being there, isn't it? We've all got that connection ourselves, and I think the connection to the higher self is of great importance.
When an individual makes the contact with their higher self, whether it is through assistance or whether it is through their own experience, when they understand this divine connection to the higher self, this vibratory experience overwhelms the human experience. This, in effect, changes the perspective. It begins to clear the windows in front of them, removing a bit of the veil in front of them. This vibratory experience of connecting to the higher self allows them this point of awareness. So yes, for an overall perspective of one's existence, it is always recommended to be in touch with the higher self, the higher perspective, the divine self. But what do you do with the information is the most important. You can receive all the information you wish. You can receive all of the enlightenment you wish. But how do you process that through your human existence? How do you portray that in your everyday experience? That, again, goes back to the human existence, the free will that you have. You can consume a number of books, but that yet does not make you the smartest person. So it is to consume as much information as you wish from your higher self. But it is up to you what you will do with it.
Well, how do you know, what does a life look like when it's being led a little bit more with the higher self in mind, and recognizing when that's, flowing, and when that intuition's working in a sense? What's that life look like, do you think? Is it, how's it different to a life that's not going from that perspective?
If we were to put two in perspective, one that is operating in the normal everyday experience of the three-dimensional life, and one that has been in contact with their higher self and is applying what they have learned, not all of it, piece by piece as it needs to be, there is a radiance. There is a vibratory radiance that is emitted from that individual. You will understand it as they enter into a room, the energy shifts just a bit. There is a presence that precedes them before they enter the room. This is their divine essence beginning to emanate around them. This is their presence of themselves. This is their higher self being present in their everyday life. It is also allowing themselves to connect to all things in the universe, an understanding that all is present, all is okay. There are not the distractions upon what they exist in. For those that exist with their higher self in the center, this alignment, this purity alignment, this foundational space of truth, the world in which they live, this world, is not a distraction any longer. Yes, the chaos continues, but yet they live in a world that looks much different. They operate in a world that is a bit different. They do not worry about the same things that the individual that is in the three-dimensional aspect, that has no understanding other than themselves, present upon a planet, ensued in the chaos, will have. They understand the presence of self. They also understand the presence of others. And when they do, they allow those to come around them, those that seek, those that have questions, those that wish to be in contact with their higher self. For it is an unspoken language of energy that allows others to gather with those that allow themselves to connect.
And do you think sometimes a bit of a hack, I'm using these words right, but a bit of a hack to get to that space is doing something that's outside your comfort zone in a sense?
Any space in which you remove yourself from the three-dimensional plane, you say your comfort zone, any aspect of your physical self doing anything that takes you into an energetic space, you would look upon it in your physicality as being uncomfortable. Whether that is through explorative journeys, whether that is through hypnosis, whether that is through meditation, whether that is through a journey by oneself along a long path, whatever makes you feel a bit aside from yourself. You may have the question in your physical mind, shall I do this? That is the point at which you probably should move forward. Most challenging points are the points at which the vision starts to clear. The knowing, the truth, the divine begins to reveal itself. That is what all seekers have done. Each individual journey is upon themselves, but each have sought themselves out in the moments of quiet, contemplation, journeying, and that is what its purpose is for.
Absolutely. And that which you think, you set out to do, which was a purpose in a sense, it was, you're following that call. Actually, it's leading you somewhere else. It may not have been what you thought it was. You're seeing through that part and, on with the next part then, because that wasn't it. I'm just, potentially that's all for some people. Thank you.
Many must seek a number of journeys. For the exploration, for the journey, the exploration of the journey will lead you to the connectedness that you're seeking. Not all journeys are going to provide you the clarity you seek. That is purposeful. There's teaching in that. That is building your confidence. That is building your awareness. That is building your assuredness of who and what you shall be directing yourself towards. That is your journey. It is each individual that you begin to synchronize with. Many will fall away. Many will remain. But it is this journey of exploration that will lead you to that connectedness that you seek.
What if for some people, exploring their dark side is actually part of their journey as well? And actually, even I'm using the word dark side, right? But even though it's what some people would call the dark side, actually it's still of service. It's still of service. I guess I'm the one that's judging it from this perspective, aren't I, by saying these words? But I'm just saying, because it can be all, I mean, different strokes for different folks, in a sense.
It is a starting point for each individual. You say dark side. What you must have in perspective is this. On a perspective of vibrational frequencies, it all is the same. It's just one is at a much lower frequency and one is at a much higher frequency. So those that are entertaining that space, they're exploring as well. They're seeking a higher understanding. They're seeking a knowing. And in that, their own enlightenment will take place. Many will understand that. Many will explore other aspects. But it is for each journey to take place. Each awareness that arises within must be followed. Must be followed. That is your own guidance. That is your true essence, leading you and guiding you to the connectedness that you seek.
That's important. Yeah, you must follow it. Yes, absolutely. And that's some things that people don't always do. But it always comes back to them in some way, doesn't it? Yeah, it's always knocking on the door.
When one does not follow, that is their humanness overriding the yearning of their energetic to move forward. The humanness out of fear will always hold back the energetic. That is the connectedness between the energetic being that is the human and the human being that is the energetic. It is the pairing of the two, but the human will always override the energetic. That is why you are here, to experience the human experience. All of it. All of it. Experience it as a human, but yet allow your energetic to explore all that is to lead you to your connectedness of truth and understanding of the divine.
And that is the real time for action now, and that's the times that we live in. This is the energy that's coming through. It comes through a lot of others, but that seems to be a really important thing for these times. And I guess, there's a reason for that, isn't there? What is the transformation past getting to that point? Is this the more peaceful world for some of us that we're looking for individually?
Your planet now, the chaos that is upon it, you perceive it as being overwhelming. You must understand this. There is an ascension point taking place. There are cycles of energies that are moving through your planet, coming from outside of your planetary systems, coming outside of your galactic systems, surrounding your planet. All of this is purposeful for the alignment to take place. It is all purposeful for the awareness to begin to happen. It is the awakening process, this ascension point. Though there is chaos, once this alignment takes place, this connectedness to the divine self, this truth, this understanding, again, the world will look much different to the perspective of those that are awakened. They will not see it as it is now. It will only remain that way for those that are not on that point. But in time, this planet will be at a point at which all beings will be ascended, will be enlightened, will be connected. That point is to come. But this period of time, of energy that is processing through your planet, it is for each individual to allow themselves to experience it. Many are experiencing it in very difficult ways. Their bodies are receiving it very differently. Physically, they are feeling the energy pathways opening up, shifting, their DNA changing a bit. This is all purposeful to receive more and more energy, to allow the awakening to awareness, this truth to take place. So it is to understand this process that your planet is undertaking is here for your purpose. is here for each individual's purpose. Understand that energy, consume that energy, awaken from that energy. As you do, what you thought was taking place upon the planet will be completely different. You will have a much clearer understanding of what is taking place. The distractions will be no more, and that will cycle through your entire planet.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for the message that you've given there. If there's anything you want to add to it, then please do. But otherwise, I just want to thank you for sharing that with the audience.
What we wish to express to you is to take this time to understand what is before you, to understand the energies that encircle you, these energies that are processing through your planet. Mother Earth is amplifying them. Mother Earth is processing them. Mother Earth is there to assist you. So allow yourself time to merge with Mother Earth. Reveal yourself to Mother Earth. Speak to her. She will guide you in this process. She will awaken you. She will move you along your path. But allow your awareness to become broadened, your connectedness to your divine self to be anchored, and your truth to be spoken. That is what we wish to share with you.
Thank you so very much for being present with us this evening.
And as always, the collective is here for your information, knowledge, and love.
Excellent. Alison, there was that was an interesting conversation there, and it was really nice of William to go so deep and to share those messages. I mean, really important messages, I think, especially said in a very different way as well compared to others, which is always nice, always very nice and useful as well. I don't know if there's anything you want to add there, Alison, at all.
No, it was interesting. You never know what to expect when they pop in and what they want to talk about. So linking it back into Mother Earth, I thought was interesting, and it wasn't what I expected either.
No, I didn't. I did not expect that. No.
What did we expect? I mean,
they wanted to talk about Mother Earth and our relationship with Mother Earth, and we need to restore that divine connection because.
Okay.
Yeah, because Mother Earth can always cleanse herself, and we don't want her to do that.
It went on to many other facets as well, which all connect. So very, very interesting. So guys, just remind us of the websites again. They are.
You can find me at william-brown.com, and also on my YouTube channel, The Collective Channeled by William Brown.
And our joint website is palmandlotus.com, and I can be found at drallisonbrown.com, which is DRALLISON brown.com.
Well, I just want to thank you both so very much for coming on. That was an awesome and is an awesome collaboration together, guys. Honestly, but it was a lot of fun, and just thank you for all the help that you're giving people, because I know that together it's a very, very powerful connection, and this is what you're meant to be doing. I can tell that just from this short interview with yourselves as well. So just thank you so much, both of you, for coming on today.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Such a blessing.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.